Shut up and sit down.
Oh God, here it comes! Oh, hot, 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 hot! Hot, 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 hot!
Going on a bike ride, sidewalk on my right side. I could go anywhere.
Feel the burn.
Going on a bike ride, nothing but the sunshine. I could go anywhere.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Legrand, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Turing. It's a spicy one.
Hot garbage.
Handle barbell sings. What a simple thing.
Ow! Heat was hot.
Going on a bike ride.
Yep, no doubt about it. We are the a-holes.
Hi, welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I am Jake Von Turing. I'm here with Lance friggin' Hepler.
Lance friggin' Hepler.
What's up?
Welcome to the show. Hello.
To his right, Sir Ian Gibson.
Good morning, everybody.
How are you, bud?
I'm good.
Oh, do I need to? Okay,
You should.
Let's do it again. Here we go. And to his right, Sir Ian Gibson.
Sir. Yeah, did you hear Sir Mark Cavendish now?
Hey, okay, I heard about this.
Yeah.
It's a really big deal.
Yeah.
It's kind of...
They're not pseudo knights like me.
No, it's kind of rude to England for us to call you Sir Ian Gibson when you haven't been given the moniker, because it takes a lot to become a knight, right?
Right.
You can become like you become like a commander something first. There's like different levels, and depending on your success in whatever field you're doing. Okay, I know way too much about it.
Jij bent een klootzak.
Okay. He is Cavendish has been knighted or is about to be knighted by the King Charles. So I'm gonna shut up now. Go on.
Do we really care?
No. Well, no.
Sorry.
You don't care, Jake.
All right. I get hate for that too.
I still like to be known as
found people
Sir.
saying stuff on the interwebs like, why is so much hate for Cavendish? Because
Cavendish.
Yeah. Coming to us over the Verizon network today, looking a little snotty, Mr. Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys look like you're on the internet.
Matt, what's up with you?
What's going on, dude?
I'm sick, and even at this distance, there's a good chance you guys are going to get infected. And
Yeah, it's floating up the hill. I can sense it.
Matt is physically a half mile away from us, but you're right here in my heart. Right here.
Right on.
yeah, well, you don't want to get that close to me, Lance.
All right.
Cool. Hey, let's jump into the podcast and do a little bit of backpedaling. Matt, you usually go first. You filling up for it
I
today,
always go
buddy?
first.
All right, let's do it, dude.
Okay. All right. So, you know how we have like cyclical down weeks, like in your training blocks when you're training?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is my like cyclical down week. Do you get it?
Nah.
Get it?
Sick a little?
Sick a little down week. That sucks.
Cyclical down week.
So-
Anyway, yeah. I'm laying low because I've run a couple times and I'm really laying low because I've been pretty sick. So,
That's a bummer, dude.
yep.
Too much time going
Yep.
to like swim meets and stuff like that, hanging out in close quarters with all those sick kids and their parents.
Yesterday I was like really, really sick at a swim meet and I was like, I have to go home. I have to go home. And I came home and I took my temperature and it was like, I don't know, it was over 100. And I was like, oh, this is not good. Should not be at a swim meet. And I got to go to take a kid to a swim meet. And I was supposed to be there all day today. And I was like, I'm just going to take a kid to the swim meet and drop him off and just
So you're going
come back
to
home.
take a kid and drop it off at the pool?
Yeah. At 10 o'clock, I'm going to drop some kids off at the pool.
I just did that in your bathroom like 2 seconds ago, Jake.
Is that what that was?
Totally different, Lance. Totally different.
Oh. Well, I hope you feel better, buddy.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah. Cool. Who would like to go next? Sir Ian?
I will, because Lance traditionally takes much longer. I don't have much to say this week. I am still riding my bike. I'm still doing a bunch of domestic chores, changing out some broken parts on my car, working on my roof. But I've been riding. I did flogging ride last week, and I did Salvi Shootout on Sunday. But I think this is really my gap year in racing. I'm not really racing much. Like this weekend is Baker City, and
It starts today.
I don't think my head was in it. I'm not
It happens.
For
Peaks and valleys.
Yeah. So normally I would be there. This is the first year I've missed in 5 years. But no, just been riding and training and working on stuff at home. That's my back pedal done.
Hey, Hep, how about you?
I'm in a down couple weeks. I don't know. I feel gross too. I started. I don't feel sick, but I feel puffy and unmotivated. Maybe it's because I had Pop-Tarts for breakfast, but it could be that. But I had this big, build up all year to Sister Stampede and Unbound, and after that, my motivation just took a freaking dive. So, and it's not good. I have more races coming up. I'm doing the Oregon Trail Gravel Grinder starting on Wednesday, which is a 5-day gravel stage race. That will not be easy, and I don't know.
Is it going to be a 5-day gravel stage race or stage ride?
It might be a stage ride for me. It all depends on how day one goes.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
If I'm in the mix on day one, then I'll buckle down and go for it. But man, I do not feel like I'm
nothing's better than going into like a race or something like that with no expectations. I'm just going to go have fun, and then you have like a good day or two, and you're like, well, wait a second, and then there was no expectation on you. There was no like built up angst or stress or like disappointment if you didn't get that quite result that you wanted, and you go out and you're like, I feel pretty stinking good. I think I might get after this and just see how that rolls out.
That's what happened at Unbound for me. I rolled up to the start line with like no expectations, really, and 30 miles into it, I'm like, I'm in the first 100 people of 1,600 racers. I'm going to try to hang as long as I possibly can.
There you go.
So anyway, I did have some great rides. I did the Tuesday night gravel ride with the team, and I've did the Wednesday lab lunch ride, and I've just been keeping it mostly zone 2 this week, kind of chill, because I've got a big ugly week coming up. And last year I did Oregon Trail Gravel Grinder, and it put me in a physical hole for a couple weeks because I really buried myself last year. Anyway, so who knows what's coming up or what's happening. That's it.
I did not race my bike, believe it or not.
None of us did.
But I did almost put in 6 hours last week.
Yes.
So the trajectory's looking decent. I started off, first week was 1 hour. The second week was 2 hours. And then it was about 4 hours. And last week was just shy of 6 hours. And this week, if it all kind of goes as planned, it should be in that 7-ish hour range, maybe even up to 8, depending upon how hot it gets this weekend, how much time I have, and whatnot. So it's been fun. I've gone out and I've done the flogging ride. Granted, I didn't really flog. I got flogged. But, I just kind of like feeling it out and trying to get a sense of where your body's at without pushing it too hard like I would have done a few years ago and probably hurt myself again. But I've done that. I've done the gravel rides, a couple zone 2s with you, Lance, and it's coming around and just doing all the things off the bike that I need to do to keep everything kind of loose. I think the biggest thing that I'm fighting right now is the fact that I've been so guarded. And I apologize if I said this before, but I've been so guarded for so long, for almost 2 years, that everything is ridiculously tight. Like the IT band, the hip flexor, the quads, the glutes, everything in that whole hip girdle area is super tight. So if I'm staying on my little it's like a little hard ball kind of thing that you roll to get all the trigger points.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a foam roll, but in a small ball, compact rubber. Anyway, doing all the trigger points on that and doing the foam roll and stretching, it's all kind of coming together, and I'm not dealing with the internal joint pain that I had before. So far, so good. If we can stay on this trajectory, maybe by the end of the summer, I can keep up with you guys.
Well, I think what's interesting and what's inspiring is that, you show that you are still fundamentally an athlete, that even though with 10 months, a year off the bike, basically not riding, you can get straight back on it and pretty much hang with the group. I mean, I looked at your ride last week and there was a 1,400 watt sprint in there. I mean,
yes.
Not many people do that getting straight off the couch. So I think it serves as encouragement to other people that are injured, Tim, right? Other people,
Sure.
that you have not gone down to basically nothing, lost everything. You still, even after 10 months to a year, you've retained base fitness still. You're there.
Yeah, to a certain degree, and it's going to take a little bit of time to get that back, and it's going to take a long time to get that high end and that that power endurance kind of stuff that really kind of dwanes more than anything really quickly. But I've just been noticing that I really wanted to go out and do the flogging ride last night, but logistically I just couldn't make it happen. I had all intents of going out there. I'm playing single father, dad, Uber, chef, soccer mom, all the whole thing this week because my wife and my other daughter are out of town, so I'm running my other kids everywhere. But just couldn't make it out there. But what's been nice is like back-to-back weeks going out and doing the Tuesday night gravel ride, which let's just be honest and call it what it is. It's gravel flogging.
It is.
And, I got my backside handed to me the first week, but I still went out there and I still did my thing. And then I came back the next week, and no joke, I think my normalized power was up like, what did I tell you, like 30 or 40 watts for the whole ride. And I mostly stayed with people, so it's coming back in slow doses and whatnot. And I have to be careful that I don't overdo it because there are, that tendency inside your head, just go hard, go fast, chase them, stay on, stay attached. And then that's your brain. And then your body's like, no, you jackal, back off.
You need a few months.
We're doing this. We're going to ease into it. But what's nice though, is just look at week over week. It's already like that gap is closing. That gap is still large, but that gap is closing. So,
and that's one good thing after a prolonged period of not training is that you can start to make significant gains quickly again. Whereas if you spend your whole year training hard, those gains are much smaller. You're looking at tiny little increments of improvement. Whereas when you're coming from where you were at, you can realize those 10, 20, 30 watt increases in power.
Yeah. So we'll get there.
A little bit encouraging.
Just taking it week by week, and it'll be fun to report back next week. And I don't think there's going to be a race on the calendar this year that I would be willing to throw my hat into. I don't think I'm going to go do any cyclocross stuff. A, I don't have a cyclocross bike, and B, I don't know. I don't know if I'm quite ready for that yet. I think I just want to spend the rest of the year just really focusing on building up endurance and strength and fitness and the whole bit so that when it gets to the off-season time, I can get into a really structured program and get ready for a full 2025 season. Does that sound weird, 2025?
2025.
How'd that happen?
That's not a bad idea, Jake. Yeah. It really isn't.
Yeah.
So.
And we can still kind of get a little bit of scratching that itch with maybe chasing a KOM or something like that here, or going out to the team rides, or even like I would love to be able to jump back into the A group with the flogging and see if I can stay close to the pointy end of that. So we'll see. Cool. All right, that's enough of that stuff. It's been fun, but let's move on. Let's hold on here. I have something that I want to do. It's something new. I think we're gonna start the segment. You guys ready? You all ready?
No.
Here we go.
Name dropping the pros against the dirt. And it might even sometimes be right. Champ Billy here. Racing news is my game. If I got it wrong, that's on you. Don't like a champ out. He's Champ Evan Bailey. Cross from mountain and gravel. What the hell's is this guy saying? Unfortunately, this is all the Doubt Podcast could afford.
I got a little something for you there, Champ Bailey. Champ, are you here?
Champ is here.
All right,
I am all the Dialed Cycling Podcast could afford. So that you're stuck with me, world's worst cycling sports podcaster. Believe it or not, this week, not a whole lot happened. That's not really true. A ton has happened, but nothing I really want to talk about. The Tour de France is coming up. It starts next Saturday, right?
Yeah,
next
week from
Saturday in Florence, Italy. So we are a week away from the Tour de France starting. So because of that, most of the big names are prepping themselves. These last few days has been European National Championship week. So every country has been holding their national championships, individual time trials and road races. And those are happening today and yesterday. So those results are just kind of slowly rolling in. So news to talk about, not a whole lot other than confirmed Jonas Vingegaard and Wout van Aert are on the Visma Lease bike team for the Tour de France. So they look like they have a pretty strong team for the Tour. The UAE team looks freaking stacked. Mm-hmm. It looks really good, so that could be interesting. I don't know what else happened. Nothing.
I've been watching the Tour all week. I don't know about you guys.
You've been watching Unchained.
Maybe. That's so fun to go back and watch that.
It really is.
I mean, they do a fantastic job. And you and I kind of chatted about that. It's kind of funny. Like, they've always got the storylines of the people that were doing big things, that had notable things going on in that particular race. So just to think about the fact that they were able to tell those stories tells you that, all right, they had no idea. It's not scripted. So that means they're doing a lot of interviews. They're doing a lot of like, getting footage and doing the whole gamut of like, making sure that this thing's going to go off. So that's a pretty big production. And it's really cool that they're able to narrow it down the way that they did and tell these cool stories. I mean, I just got done watching the last episode last night with Thibaut Pinot, and it was just, it's awesome to see that like they set it up and they told his story, or Casper Asgreen a few episodes prior to that, talking about what he did in the race. So it's just really neat to watch that. And it's fun to
Jake's talking about the Netflix documentary series called Unchained. They've been following the Tour de France teams. They did it 2 years ago, and they didn't have Tade on the show because I don't think UAE allowed them on the team bus or in their camp. And this year, they did. The show is fantastic. I think it's 6 episodes.
6 or 7, something like that.
6 or 7 episodes. They end up like following a few people from like some of the principals that end up doing well in the race. They follow them like 5 months before the race and show them in their like training in their home countries and stuff. So
yeah, in order to tell the story, to put this together though, you just have to imagine that
maybe they do that for 100 people.
Yeah, they spotlighted what, like 10 or 15 people at most, but there's like over 100 people in there, and how many of them are you going to have to go follow just because they did something special? I mean, did you think that Casper Asgreen was going to win a particular race?
No.
Yeah, I mean, so you have to think about like, all right, that's a lot of people that you got to go get these backstories on. They've got probably tons of footage on all these people too.
Oh my gosh,
It'd be kind of fun to see like another behind the scenes or part 2 or something like that from that episode, from that season.
So yeah, Unchained was very good this year. You see some emotion, you see some drama. They told the stories well. I don't know.
Kind of hijacking your thing here, champ. Sorry about that. But is there anybody that show kind of turned you off to or made you a bigger fan of, or somebody that like you're like, oh, I've got a very different opinion of this person now?
You know what? Episode 1 shows Wout getting pissed.
Yeah.
It made him like more real to me, less robotic.
Yeah, it does. They almost gave him... God, they kind of put like a veil of like arrogance over him, or just like,
right. And I don't think he has that.
Yeah. So that was kind of unfortunate. I still think he's a fantastic dude, but he's a fighter.
They did show that there really is no animosity between him and Jonas, like they kind of alluded to the previous year. They really showed that those two guys are really together and love each other and take care of each other, and so that was cool. But it did show how upset he was after the first couple stages.
I think it's fair to say that we all pretty much like Tadej Pogačar. He's pretty solid.
What's not to like, man?
After watching the whole season 2, I like him that much more. He's such an even-keeled, balanced, well-mannered, good kid, and he's a great competitor. He's a great sportsman. He's just, there's nothing that you don't like about the guy.
He's really likable.
Yeah.
He really is.
Yeah.
He doesn't tick people off.
No, and he's humble to a certain degree. I mean, he wants to win, and that he wears that on his sleeve, but he's super humble. Like when he popped, he owned it. He wasn't riding the excuse bus. He's just like, I didn't have it. I had a bad race. Yeah. And he was super bummed about it, probably even pissed at himself. But at the end of it, he, finished things strong on, stage 20, and he was happy to be back. But he's like, I'll be back next year.
Yeah.
So,
Matt, did you see any of it or have any thoughts on it?
I haven't seen the new. Well, I think I've got part of the way through the first episode, so it's in my Netflix queue. I think they do a good job with that show. I do. It partially makes me feel like it might be a little bit played up, and maybe we talked about this on the podcast last year, where it feels a little reality TV showish, where they're trying to make drama where there wasn't really drama.
They made Phillipson look like a dick.
Yes, they did.
Dumbass. Yeah.
He's and I have no idea. Maybe it's easy to make these guys look like dicks because they're dicks, right? But it also might be the way they edit stuff. I think there's a lot of power.
You're right. Some of the stuff, it's a bit like the Formula One show. I guess that's where they get the format from. The thing
Survive.
I don't like is the fake commentary on there, where they're obviously added what appears to be actual commentary, but it's not. It's fake.
They dubbed over their own commentary, not the commentary that was actually happening during the race.
Yeah. Anyway.
So we actually have to do our Tour de France preview podcast at some point
next week.
We're hoping to do that on Monday. Matt.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we feel.
I just announced our schedule on the podcast, and we never stick to our schedule.
No, we don't.
Well,
That's
maybe since you put it out there, we have to stick to it.
Now we
also.
have to do it on Monday.
Right on. Anything else there, Mr. Champ?
Oh, Champ Bailey is out. Everything else sucks.
Champ Bailey, dropping cycling news on the Dial podcast. Don and Flannel, no pants, and a mic.
Thank you, Champ. Appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Yeah, if you want to hear that again, that may or may not be at the back end of the episode
I
this
love
week. So
it.
stick around.
It's
Hear that
brilliant.
little thing. So cool. All right. Yeah, let's turn that off.
No, do play it again. No,
No, it's just cycling through. Let's we're gonna get a little Patreon thing, but I'm gonna do that after because we're gonna do a little drawing. So maybe you have to stick around until after we talk about our topic for this week. Not quite that yet, there, Mr. Lance Hepler. Now that you're back in your seat, let's jump into our topic for the week. You guys ready?
Sure.
We are ready.
Do you guys know what we're doing? Do you know what you're
Except
doing?
Matt has gone to the bathroom apparently. How's
Oh,
that
has
going?
he?
Yeah. He stepped away.
No, we are all over the place today. So
Matt's coming back. No,
anyway, do you want to talk some smack on Matt while he's
Well,
away?
I was
No,
gonna
there
say-
he is.
I'm looking for a fan, guys, because this hot seat that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
got you too hot.
Yeah, well, we're doing the hot seat this week. It's back. Who wants to go first? Who's up first?
I think we should have Matt go first.
Go for it, Matt.
I might need. Come back to me. Come back
All
to
right.
me.
Okay,
Hot
Ian.
seat question is
Ian
extra
came
hot
in here,
with you.
guns ablazing, like
Question.
trying to tell us his story, his hot seat question. We're like, no, that's not how this works. You got to wait
Yeah.
until we're like live.
I didn't realize the unwritten rules, how we need to maintain the image that we're not that prepared.
That's correct. Our hot seat questions are not shared with each other before we hear them live on the air. So you are hearing our first reactions to the hot seat.
Here we go then. I'm going to ask kind of a provocative question because I feel like Jake and I probably have differing opinions on this a little bit.
all right, yeah.
So yeah, this could be spicy. I want to know your take on the health of the Oregon bicycle racing scene and who should take the blame or take the credit for the current state of racing here in Oregon.
That's a hot one. I'm gonna go last on this one, so I'm gonna let the boys go first. Lance, you got something to say about that, or Matt, you got something to say?
Okay, my first reaction is it is definitely improved over the last 2 years. So we are I think our racer days have gone up. This is my, I don't know numbers at all. This is just my thought on going to many Oregon Bicycle Racing Association races this year. But it seems like that racer days are up. More racers are showing up. The racers have had bigger fields. There's been more people at them. And I don't know if that's a post pandemic bump that we're getting. I don't think it has anything to do with the organization. I don't think it has anything to do with we've lost promoters. We've gained some new promoters that are trying to like make a, kind of cut into the scene, but the promoting game is difficult. And so I think it's definitely growing, which is good for us. But road racing hasn't grown. It's all this off-road stuff has grown. The gravel races have almost all sold out this year, in our local racing association. I don't know if that's a national trend. It kind of seems like it is a national trend, but I don't know. That's my thought.
The road scene. What road scene?
Exactly.
I mean, Ian, if it weren't for you, there would have only been. Well, I guess there was the state championship.
We did have the state
They had
championship.
that 2 weekends
Yeah.
ago,
It
but
did.
the attendance to that was paltry.
It was a third of what Ian had at Barton Park.
Yeah, and not for nothing, but I mean, we kind of swim in the cycling waters. You see all the social media. How much advertising and promotion did you see go into that?
None. Very little. Just a couple of email blast announcements on Oberchat.
Yeah. So, Ian did a good job. He got decent numbers. I mean, how would you compare and contrast what you did? And do you think that you could have had more support as a promoter from the organization?
No, I think, and this is why I asked the question. I see that there's basically three. It's like a three-legged stool. There's three components to this, right? There's the the people that provide the framework for the racing, we're talking about Obra, of course. So I think they have a robust set of racing rules. They have good equipment to use. They have good professional adjudicators, judges, people you can call on. I do think that they provide a good service. I know that might sound controversial in this company, but they do what they do, and they provide a framework for the promoters. You have the teams who I think are ultimately responsible to get the word out and get people out racing. And then you have the promoters who do as the name suggests, that some of them make a better job than others on actual promoting. But I think the reason behind that is they're basically just part-time cyclists like you and I who have other jobs and other things to do. And
Yes.
and a lot of times they're not like myself, that we're not social media experts. We're not great at doing that. We know all about bike racing and what it takes. But as far as getting the word out, definitely for myself, that was the most challenging part, is to actually do the promoting thing. So it comes as no surprise to me that other promoters share that difficulty in actually using social media, leveraging all those tools to get the word out.
Let's just press pause on that for 1 second and just take a look at the whole marketing aspect. I mean, which promoters, in your opinion, are doing the best? I mean, I have to throw out their Mudslinger. I've got to throw out their Zone 5 is doing a really good job. Breakaway? Those are probably your big three, and they kind of get the social media game.
Yes.
They get how to promote and how to market, how to put stuff out there, and how to build email lists and how to stay relevant and get people engaged and doing all of the things. I mean, social media is an ever-changing beast and a monster, and you really have to keep your finger on the pulse of that. If you're just relying on basic HTML emails to send out to people, to a database of people, you know how many people just delete, or that goes to spam. You have to do so much more, and I don't get that sense.
So
but I think there's a lot beyond that. Like I think Baker City, for example, they were hitting social media hard for a year now, posting as they should, and all kinds of platforms. And from what I hear, the numbers are not that great again out there. I don't know that, but
well, typically speaking, when you go into a stage race, you've probably got quite a few road races, one-day road races in your...
There's 2 one-day road races at Baker
I mean,
City.
there's schedule conflicts. For sure.
You've got those things in your legs leading up to it. So now you're going from zero to oh my gosh, I got to do this hard 3-day stage race with 4 races in there and crazy climbing and all these things. Am I ready for this?
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, you know what? I haven't done any road racing. There's plenty of gravel stuff. I'm going to go do the gravel thing. That's it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I guess where I'm going is I feel like the onus should be on the teams themselves, like our own team, to encourage and get people to go out to race. And I've said this many times. It blows me away how many people sign up to be on a bicycle racing team that pin a number on maybe once, twice a year. I mean, they're not bicycle racers. So what is it about being on a so-called, a team? I don't want to make that sound derogatory or criticizing, but I feel like to make racing happen, it is a team sport, and I think it's up to the teams to get people to come out and participate.
That's my next question for you is, what is the organization doing to promote, to build, to foster, to support, to really encourage teams to be all that they can be? I mean, it's a lot of work. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and there's a lot of teams that just come and go, but there's only a handful that are the perennial, year in and year out, they're doing their thing, and it's because they've got good leadership. And what's the organization doing to foster that?
Well, when you say the organization, I feel like that kind of falls outside of the scope of their mission.
How? That's their biggest feeder of their people, their members.
Yeah, but they provide the framework to put on these races, and in my opinion, they do it well.
Well, if that's what they're going to do, then they need to they need to turn over the ropes to somebody else to manage it. If they just want to be like an insurance company, let them be an insurance company. But they want to be anything and everything that it is to this local race scene. But they fall short in a lot of areas, if you ask me. I mean, do I dislike the organization? No, I like it. Do I want to see them do well? Absolutely. Do I have opinions?
I know. That's why I asked the question. But I feel like, sure, there's room for improvement by, let's call them the regulator, the people that put on the framework. But they don't fall that short, in my opinion, when compared to, let's say, Washington State. In Oregon, OBRA has the bar competition. Washington State doesn't. They have a
competition.
We have
it went away?
Okay. We have integrated registration for the events as part of the service. That's not included in Washington State. I've been to races that will, without doubt, finish in a bunch sprint, and WSBA don't even provide a camera to record the finish line. So I don't think, like when I put on Barden Park, I did get insights that not everybody sees as a promoter, and I'll say that I got great support from OBRA, and they were professional. They provided the service they said they were going to provide, and did they help me out promoting? Kind of. Yeah, I mean, they did
How much more could they have done?
Well,
a lot.
Depending on their resources, what they have, perhaps that's arguable. But anyway, my point is, a lot of that should fall on us as team members. How do we encourage people that have racing numbers, that have a racing license, to actually go out and race? Take, for example, Baker City right now. I know on our team, I know two, possibly three out there. Five.
Yeah.
That still represents something like 97% of the team are not racing.
Correct.
At Baker City, which is one of the bigger things on the calendar.
Yep. And that's true. And again, to go back to my point, is like a 3-day stage race isn't for everybody. And there's a lot of people on the team who they don't race road. That's not their jam. They might be a cyclocross person. They might be a mountain bike person, or they're just now dipping their toe into the gravel scene because, riding on the road makes them nervous. So, I mean, I'm not going to shun the whole team for, you didn't go to Baker City, but there's probably a few people on there, but again, there's life things that go on too. Like it's summertime, you've got family stuff going on. There's a million things. So just to know that we've got 5 people out there, that's good. I mean, would it be great to have 15 or 20? Absolutely.
No, I know. I'm just saying that's where.
Yeah, I would be a little bit more disheartened if we had a local road race here and we're trying to get the scene to go up, and we know that we've got 50 people that are like, I'll go race road bikes, and we have like 5 show up of that 50. That would be a little disheartening. Baker City, that's a little bit more of an ask. There's a lot of work that goes into that.
Yeah, and it's not. This is not a unique thing to Dial Cycling. I'm not really aiming my comments at our team, but teams in general. I don't think we're unique in this. I mean, I've talked to people that said, well, yeah, in the week, no, I have to work late, and the weekends is family time, and I have to go to church on Sunday, and I've got family things going on Saturday. So you basically can't race then, right? Because I'm busy. Okay, that's fine. A lot of people are busy, but you did join a bicycle racing team.
Yeah, and we have criteria. We have minimums. We have like, you have to race this many times per year. Yeah. So I mean, it would be good for, I don't know, maybe like a consistent, like playbook for everybody to follow. Like, hey, here's a couple things. Like, make them earn their spot on the team. Make them commit to doing a certain number of races. Make them commit to volunteering. Make them commit to being actively involved in all the team activities. Yeah, and that's just going to be good for the team. I mean, you don't want to overdo it, because we've all kind of, and maybe at some point in time with this team, overdone it a little bit because it's fun. But then you stop for a second. You're like, wow, I just spent a lot of time doing a lot of this stuff, and maybe like my work suffered or my home life suffered a little bit because I did that. So, I mean, you have to find that balance and do what's right for you.
Of course, absolutely, yeah. I mean, and this is amateur racing, right? Yeah. So we all have other things to do.
I think that's an easy question to answer, really, Ian. Why people want to be a part of a team if they're really not going to race very much is because you want to feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself. You see the you see the camaraderie and love between teammates and the acceptance between teammates, and you want to be a part of that. You want to be accepted. So by joining a team, you're like,
Right.
okay, now I'm part of something really cool, and I've seen all the great stuff that Dialed has done, and now I get to be a part of that. Oh wait, racing is hard, and
Yeah, no, like I said, this is not about Dial, but I do think that that's what a club is, right?
yeah,
So there's a difference between a club and a team. Like if you put yourself on a basketball team, you would be expected to play basketball,
Yeah,
to go to matches.
that's true.
Or a soccer team or whatever. But anyway,
Matt, what are your thoughts? We haven't been able to hear from you.
Well, I fall right into this category of not really like racing a ton, but still being on part of the team. And I don't think it would be bad if I was like relegated to like the Dialed Cycling Club as opposed to the Dialed Cycling Team. If we wanted to like distinguish the names slightly differently there, I guess we do actually have both of those categories. Our team is specifically interesting because we have such a large group, and we actually have different factions and stuff like that within each group. So I think that there's good arguments to be made on basically both points, right? Like if you're going to be part of the team, you're expected to race. If you're going to be part of the club, come join the rides, So I think that it just depends on, how strict you guys want to be deciding that kind of as like as leaders of the team or presidents of the team or the board of the team, and how much you guys want to let it be a little bit more chill. So,
yeah. Like I keep saying though, but I wanted to have a conversation in a more broad context. So Dialed Cycling is just an example of a team who has people that don't participate. Do other teams have that kind of ratio of participants to non-participants? I suspect so.
I think so.
Yeah.
Clearly, the Dialed is one of the biggest teams on OBRA. It might be the biggest team on OBRA as far as number of registered members. But there are several teams with OBRA that like only do cyclocross or only have 12 members and only 3 of them actually race. You know,
I don't care if it's a team of 2. You need to do everything that you can to support that team and foster them to continue to race. So if that's just keeping those 2 people racing, that's great. But if you can encourage them to, hey, grow your team to 4, maybe 10 next year. And all that's doing is bringing more people into the racing community, and it's going to be more race registrations, and that's all good and great. And I don't feel like they do enough for the teams. I mean, they've got this golden thing that they're just... I honestly feel like they're squandering it. It's just a tiny little small blurb mention at the very end of the season in the end of the year awards party for the team bar competition. That could be so much more. And I've been beating this drum for years. As a matter of fact, I got so tired of beating it, I stopped. And I'm not going to say that I stopped caring. I care about us. I want to make sure that we're doing well in this competition, because that shows, like, if our numbers are really high, if we're putting up a massive amount of points, that tells me that our team is going out and racing bikes. And right now, if you go and look, I mean, I think we're 2,300 points, if I'm not mistaken.
In the bar competition.
In the bar competition, and then second
Best
place.
all around rider.
Yeah, and there's a team component to that.
Yes.
So what it does is it tabulates all of the points from the riders on your team that finished in the top 15 of a particular race, and it all gets compiled, and that's a composite of what your score is.
As of today, we have 2,200 points. Second place has 840.
So, and that's good. Like, you want to see.
Oh, it's Beachy Callisto. They finally registered.
And there might very well be some teams that haven't registered, but again, what's the perk of registering? You
It's only that.
that, or and the other thing now is they do have a really good like team insurance policy that it's pretty solid. We've done it for a couple of years now, and it saves us quite a bit of money, and it helps cover the whole team. If you want access to that, you have to be a registered team. But to my point, they're not doing enough to promote that. That could be
being
OBRA, yeah. That should be at the forefront of every single week, because if you're pitting these teams together that are all comprised of competitive people who all want to go out and do really well, that love their team and they want to see their team do really well, you know what they're going to do? I'm going to do extra races because I want to help the team out. And then the team's going to beat that team drum of like, hey, we need to go and we need to like be in the top whatever and let's do this stuff. That could be such a big thing for registration numbers for like these promoters. If you've got these teams that are bringing a bunch of people, or like, hey, we can't compete. Let's call a spade a spade. It's hard to compete with our team because we've got a big team, but we also like tell people we want you out at the races.
Yeah.
We do a good job of communicating with each other. We do all that stuff. And that's why we're going to compile a bunch of points. But if you're a team of 10, you're not going to be able to beat us in the bar competition. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. But, what happens if maybe they broke up the bar competition of like, we've got our large team, medium team, and small team competitions. Sure. You could do the overall and then kind of break it up like age groups and based on size. And then you can tell those people like, hey, maybe you only have 10 people. Maybe next year you come to the table with 20 people, go out into the cycling community and find some more folks, bring them on board, get them trained up and get them out there doing good things. And the next thing you know, you're more competitive. All that stuff, if you bring that all together, all it's going to do is bring more people out to the races, which is good for the race community. Okay. It's good for the race organization. It's good for the promoters. It's good for the health of each and every individual discipline.
This makes me think nationally. Okay, so we're in our own little corner of the world here in the Pacific Northwest, and there's probably lots of people listening to this podcast that are like, I don't flipping care about Oprah. Yeah. I wonder what this is like nationally. I'd be curious to hear from listeners somewhere, probably on our Instagram page. Respond to comment below on what your local racing scene is like. I've done a lot of racing in Arizona and Utah, and some in California, but it seems like those organizations aren't any better than Oprah. And I don't know if they have best all-around rider competitions. They probably do. I don't know how healthy their race organizations are. Arizona's, their race, season is like January to March, and then it kind of fades off, But I'm curious what those organizations are like. Is NorCal seems really healthy. They seem like they have a great race organization racing, but that's just for me on the outside looking in. I don't know how it really works. Utah has a great crit series and a great gravel series, but I don't know how busy it really is.
Maybe we need to stop looking around the country and go take a look over in Europe and see what's going on over there. I mean, you would have to think...
It's a whole different ballgame, man.
Exactly, but like how different is that? And obviously they're turning out good riders and they seemingly have a healthy ride race scene. What can we borrow from them?
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see our organizing body take on an expanded role, right? As you suggest. I think realistically, we would end up paying more dues to get more services from them. I mean, I would like to see an advocacy component, like a lobbying arm where we lobby for a new velodrome or to bring the World Road Race Championships to Portland. All these things you could ask of your organization. Advocacy, more help in promotions and so on. I think OBRA in particular, and probably every state organization similar to OBRA, has limited budget and a limited scope of what they feel they're responsible for. The other thing, briefly then, I know we want to move on, but briefly, the other challenge at amateur bike races is you have to organize it in such a way that everybody has a chance. So how do you split up those categories? I think the big challenge, and I saw this firsthand as a promoter, is you can get everybody show up to your bike race, or you can maximize the potential of participation, if you like, have a couple of hundred people show up, but everybody who's races bikes that is available and doesn't have a conflict that weekend will show up. But you still have fields where there's only 6 riders, juniors, 12 to 14, you're never going to get a field of 40 riders. women Cat 3, you're never going to get a feel of 50, 60 riders in that way. So
it all goes down to building up the membership. You got to get people in there. You got to get the teams to bring people out to the races. And if I had to guess, I would say that membership at Obra, I'm completely throwing a dart in the dark here. It's probably in the ballpark of maybe 1,500 to 1,800 people.
that's my guess.
When I first started with Obra, it was 36 or 3,700. So granted, yes, we had a huge drop off at the pandemic, but it was declining from year over year. Before the pandemic, it was going down each year, and the pandemic hit, and then it hit rock bottom, and then it's slowly come back up. But we were still missing a ton of people there.
But there are a ton of people that have Ober racing licenses that don't show up to races.
Sure.
And that's,
It's a
in my
statistical
opinion,
number.
that's not Ober's fault.
Well, it's a statistical number. You're dealing with a certain percentage of people that are going to come out, and I'm sure that there's a plus or minus margin of error on this, but it's like whatever percent normally comes out to these races is going to be, that's what it is. It's not going to change too much from 3 or 4 years ago to today. Well, granted that's pandemic times, but anyway, you get what I'm saying. But if you have a bigger pool to draw from, and let's say that you've got 1,500 people and only 10% of your people are showing up, and you got 150 people to races. Well, what happens if you have 5,000 people and you take 10% of that 5,000 people and you've got 500 people showing up? That's a huge difference for you as a race promoter putting on a road race of 150 versus 500 people. So you've got to get your numbers up, and you're not going to do that, pea shooting, trying to pick off one little thing here and there. You've got to go to your biggest source of people and your tentacles that reach out into your communities that get people excited about racing. Those are your teams. They're not doing it. I sit as the director of the Dialed Cycling team and have been doing this since 2017. And very, very seldom do I get any kind of a ping or a notification or a question. And as a matter of fact, it's been really quiet over the past couple of years. I kind of gave up. I mean, I even sat on the board of directors for 3 years. And during that process, I kind of gave up because it's frustrating because of where the attention and the energy goes. And a lot of times it's not towards what can we do to make bike racing bigger and better and more of an enjoyable experience for all of our people, and how do we get more people involved? It's going off on all these little tangents, chasing other things that I don't want to get into that because I don't want to ruffle feathers or anything, but it's all right, we're here to talk about bike racing. We're here to build this organization. We're here to get more people excited about this. And you know what? We've had a little bit of success. I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but we've had a little bit of success. We started in 2017 with 10, 11 people.
Yep.
And just a couple of years later, we had over 100 people. And a couple of years after that, we're closer to 200 people now. And I think that we're doing a lot of things right, but we're kind of I feel like we're on our own little island sometimes. And there are other teams out there that are doing good things, but I'm all right, well, if we can't impose this or say, hey, here's some stuff that we've been doing that we've seen success with. If we can't share that or inspire somebody to do something like that within the organization, then let's just keep doing our own thing. Let's build it from the bottom up and support it from the top down and make it be a fun thing for our people. I just don't think that they're doing that. I mean, when we first started our team, 2017, do you want to take a stab at how many teams were registered with Oregon Bicycle Racing Association? Any guess? 114. 114. You want to know how many there are right now? All the way into the summer now. We're first full day of summertime. There's 32 teams. What are we doing to support that, promote it?
A lot of that is consolidation. It doesn't necessarily mean there's less people racing bicycles.
Oh, there's 100% less people racing bicycles.
A lot of people that were on those other teams are now on our team.
And other teams and so on and so forth. But those teams are your tentacles. They basically spawn out of communities, and there's people that I'm going to join a team. They know some other people because those are local cycling buddies. They put together a team, and then hopefully, if all things go well, they glom on some more people. But what are you doing to promote these teams to get them to bring more people into the scene? I mean, these are the soldiers that want.
This is my point, though. This is where we disagree, and I think we're going to stay disagreeing. Is that it's not. It's beyond the scope of our organizing body to promote membership in the various teams. It's up to the teams themselves. That's my take on it.
Yeah, well,
I like this little tension.
For what it's worth, yes, Obra does provide us with a platform to, they help out the promoter by providing them insurances. They bring out the officials that the promoter pays them for. I mean, they do provide a service, but it could be so much more. They have the capacity to really blow the roof off this thing and set a precedent of this is how we built our race community. And I think it could be so much more if you really leaned into the team things because, there's a handful of people on our team, 8, 10, maybe 12 people that really care, and they do a lot. We've got a board of directors. We've got people that step up like yourself that are, promoting races. And like, what if we all stopped caring to that degree and we just wanted to pin on a number and go out and race our bikes in a kit and see our friends, but we're not really doing anything to grow and foster our team? I mean, what if we're not doing that stuff? And what if all the other teams took that same sentiment? I can tell you that our team would taper down dramatically, as well as other teams. And I don't know if that would necessarily be people like leaving our team to go to other teams. It's just like, I'm kind of losing interest. The team's been a little bit quiet. We don't have our normal cheerleaders trying to get us to come out there and do the things. And maybe they're not putting on team rides, and just like you kind of fade to black, you find other things to do. So what's keeping those people inspired? Well, thankfully, like, we've got people that just love bike racing, and we've got good people around us, and we'll continue to do this until, who knows. But imagine if you added a whole nother layer on there just to get the teams even more excited, get them more competitive, doing more things, and giving them some sort of like some sort of an incentive to keep doing their things and bringing more people out to the races.
Well, I agree with you actually on that. But I do think I was quite surprised that Obra's not really that big an organization. I don't know how many. I think they only have 1 or 2 people actually working full time. But
They've got a lot of.
If they provided more, I would, like I said earlier, I would like them to provide more. I think you would need a bigger, better funded Obra to do that.
Yeah, they have a fair amount of funding. They've got a lot more funding than WSBA. As a matter of fact, the WSBA, their whole, like, everybody that works for the WSBA, it's all volunteer. Nobody gets paid. Right,
and it shows. It's a smaller.
But you know what? What's going on with road racing up there? They're still putting on good road racing numbers, and Lance has done mountain bike racing up there. Maybe it's not quite as big as Mike Ripley's Mudslinger events, but that's a whole nother beast in itself, because Mike Ripley just kind of works on his own little island over there and knows how to turn out races and does a good job of it. And he's got big databases and knows how to do the thing. So I wouldn't say that the success of our mountain bike racing scene here is going to be something that you have to hang on the coattails of Obra. Not that Obra's doing anything like a disservice to them, but Mike can operate with or without them.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah. But if you go up to Washington, what's it like up there?
Well, the races are still big. They're just not as big. There's one series, I think, that goes down, and it's changed hands in the last couple years. So they're still going through some growing pains or transition pains. And
the biggest financial uplifting thing for Obra is probably the cyclocross season.
Correct.
You've got the Cyclocross Crusade.
We've got 2 big series that happen in Oregon.
That's like a renowned thing, and it's been around for longer than I can even remember or know of. I mean, it's been a huge thing,
plus years.
But it used to be even a lot bigger. But again, not trying to throw shade at Obra, but is the success of that racing scene because of Obra, or is that because you've got some very enthusiastic promoters that have been doing this for a long time and have brought something to an area that loves it? But
that was promoters.
Yeah.
That was the organization of Cyclocross Crusade. They're a different level than most promoters. Now that's also changed hands and gone through some weird pains the last couple years. But racing is cyclical too. Is cyclocross popularity up or down?
Oh, it's 100% down.
It is down.
Yeah. It's
why is that? Gravel is up, cyclocross is down. It's just the natural waves and peaks and valleys that happen in all racing, So I don't know. Interesting.
I would just love to see some stuff happen with the team, and if anybody wants to chat, I'd be happy to chat with them, because I got ideas. I got ideas. So, Ian, that was a good question. Anybody else have anything else to say on that? Sorry, Matt. I feel like we kind of we
just talked right over you.
I don't mind.
You got any last parting thoughts here? Any 2 cents? Anything contrarian you'd like to throw out there?
Nope.
You can tell Matt's feeling a little bit off today. I feel bad for you, buddy.
Oh, man.
Right on. All right, who wants to go next? Who's got a good question?
Matt, do you want to go so you can get out of here?
Well, I'm going to go because I do have a hard 10 o'clock that I've got to take a kid to a swim meet.
All right.
I'll go next. Actually, it's dangerous to have more than one question, but my first question is just on a scale of 100% to 100 and 100% to 100%, we'll say. Chances of Chris Froome winning the Tour.
On a scale of 100 to 100?
2%. I'm not going to give him 0 because that's, because
Lance, the scale is 100% to 100%.
Oh,
Go.
then 100%. Chris Froome is going to win the Tour.
All right, we'll get that quote. We'll get that. Get that quote.
Okay, yeah. Write that down.
my-
Lance said 100% Chris Froome is going to win the Tour.
My real question is also tour related, because I do think that, like, as we get into this tour, we should start to try to talk about it more. I think it's probably one of the most exciting times and things that we do on the podcast. Visma Lisa bike. I don't know if I said that right. I think it's something like that.
Nope, that's correct.
The new Jumbo. What are they going to do? What is their tactic here? Are they potentially going to go for stage wins? Do you have someone like Van Aert stay back and protect Vingegaard, even though he's not 100% going into this, or even Sepp Kuss for that matter? Or do you go try to win stages?
Okay.
What do you think?
I think they're going to put on a GC campaign for sure with Vingegaard. That's my opinion.
I have a lot of thoughts on this matter because the team is a bit of a mess at the moment. Compared with last year where Vingegaard was just you knew he was going to be the guy. Well, this year, Vingegaard is just coming off injury. He's still a bit of a question mark. He hasn't raced much he hasn't raced at all since his crash at the Tour de Basque, which really kind of laid him out. Yep. And so where is he at physically? I don't know. I don't think they wouldn't put him on the team if they didn't think they could back him. So he's definitely the leader of that team. But
like Ian said, I think 100% they'll he's the GC guy for the team. But that being said, what do you do with the rest of the team?
They have Sepp Kuss who won the Giro, the Vuelta. Won the Vuelta last year. Grand Tour with Sepp Kuss. Hasn't really had that good of a year so far. So, he hasn't really shown up. I don't know if he was in a crash. You've got Matteo.
That's what I was just thinking.
Right. You've got Matteo Jorgensen, who is on freaking fire. He has had the best season of his life. Right. He did not come to Visa Lisa Bike and just fade into obscurity into that team. He has improved and had results.
Stepping up.
He is just stepping up. So super happy about Matteo Jorgensen. And then you've got Wout van Aert, who is also coming off injury, and he's kind of a bit of question mark. He was not planning on doing the Tour de France at the start of the year. He was going to do the Giro and go for the overall. Well, he got hurt pretty badly too in that weird crash on a Wednesday, race. But I honestly think that what they're going to do is that Vingegaard is going to be the protected guy. He's got two great.
Here's my question: protected how?
They're going to start with him being the leader. And if
do they take the whole team and they say, "This is our guy"? We're not going after stages. We're not doing any sprints.
Yeah, I think initially, they're gonna the primary goal is going to be the GC with Vingegaard. That's going to be the primary goal, and then that's going to be dynamic. So if he falls off, if his lack of training, coming back from injury is a factor, and he's down 2 minutes after stage 3, stage 4, then they're gonna look at Wout and go stage wins.
Stage hunting, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I just wonder if they let Wout free early on.
Yes, I say only if Vingegaard is not in contention at some point. Yeah.
And then you'd think that Sepp Kuss would just continue basically to ride in support.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think
maybe Matteo.
And I think both those guys will. I think Matteo and Sepp will both ride in support unless Vingegaard cracks or can't go.
Yeah.
But I mean, Vingegaard, dude, he could have won. He could have won last year at 95%. But that's only because Tadej cracked last year. You know what's interesting? Here's what I think is most interesting about this year's Tour de France. Vingegaard is a giant question mark, even though he's the 2-time defending champion, because we don't know where he's at. Tade could have one bad day or one wreck and be out. And so if Tade and Vingegaard are out, this tour is wide open.
Yep.
Lance, are you betting on Remco? Is that what you're telling me?
I am not betting on Remco. He has not shown that he can hang on a 3-week tour yet. I'd love to see him do well, even though he's a bit of a niche bag. But I'd love to see him do well. I just don't think he's going to do well. He's struggling with allergies. He has a pretty significant allergy. This came out this week. He's allergic to dust mites. And
what's he trying to get a TUE for?
Right. Well, what happens is he goes into these hotels, and the hotels have carpet, and French hotels, especially during the Tour de France, aren't exactly
super clean,
great. Mm-hmm. And so that's part of the drama of the Tour de France. You can't book your own hotels. You have to stay in the hotels that you're assigned from the organization. It's kind of a whole thing. And he's allergic to dust mites, and so it's been an issue for him. He might show up all red-eyed and puffy on the morning of a
looking for some clenbuterol, looking for some salbutamol or whatever it was. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It just could be kind of wide open. UAE's team looks freaking stacked. They have Tade, they have Adam Yates, who was third last year and just looking freaking strong. They have Yao Alamedo.
They look so stacked.
Yeah. Who what was the race that just happened that those two guys like swapped off winning each stage, like 4 stages in a row? Adam Yates and Yao Alamedo, teammates. Was it the Dauphiné or is it the Tour de Swiss? It was the Tour de Swiss.
I think we should probably save our deep dive into the.
I know I can't help it. I'm all jacked up on it.
Yeah. But is there a stage in that first week that could be very decisive?
Yes, stage 4.
Okay,
is one of the huge mountain stages. Stage 4. It's going to start.
I think
off.
to answer Matt's question, if Vingegaard is not in contention after stage 4, then they'll probably switch to a racing for stages.
I think it'll be Matteo, not Sepp.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. Can I piggyback a little question on Matt's original first question on Chris Froome? What's the over/under on his best overall finish for Chris Froome for a stage? What's the best finishing place?
He's not going.
He's not going.
Oh, he didn't.
It was just announced 8 hours ago. I was looking this up. 8 hours ago, it was just announced he did not make.
Got left off again.
Yes.
Oh, wah wah wah. I thought.
Sorry.
I thought that was coming up that he came in. Yeah. Oh well.
Your bet, Lance, of 100% chance of winning is not looking good.
It's not looking good. He's not even on the team.
Yeah. One past the Lantern Rouge.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Cool. Yep. You got a question?
Am I up?
Yep. Unless Matt's got another one. Matt, you got more?
Nope.
Okay, my question is very selfish because I'm a selfish person. So screw all you guys.
we hate you so much.
Okay, I am doing the Oregon Trail Gravel Grinder starting on Wednesday. So 5-day gravel stage race. That roster this year is stacked. Who do you guys want me to try to buddy up to at the Oregon Trail Gravel Grinder? You want me to read you the list of the let
us know.
Big names who are going to be there? So it just jumped up in participation as far as the quality of the field. Last year there weren't too many well-known names. That's not the case this year. Peter Stetina is going to be there. Griffin Easter is going to be there. Ian Boswell is going to be there. Carl Decker will be there. I'm going to go through this list. Rob Britton, who has been crushing it, is going to be there. I said Griffin Easton. Lance Haddett. There's all these Lifetime Fitness.
Battle of the Lances?
Yes, yeah, there's the Battle of the Lances. So Lance Haddett will be there. Alex Howes is coming. Cameron Jones, who is our local
POA guy?
Yeah, POA guy. He's actually not local. He's a New Zealander.
Yeah.
He's actually doing Baker City and then going straight to Oregon Trail. So that should be interesting. Sarah Max, Rebecca Faringer, some big names there too. Corey Wallace, last year's winner. Michael Vandenham, last year's second place guy. Matt Bird, who was on the podium last year. some big names coming to this.
You've rubbed elbows with Peter Stanton before. You guys have chatted briefly.
We chatted a little bit. I took a little video. I haven't posted it yet because I think I'm going to collect a whole bunch
I think
more
you
videos.
should buddy up with him to answer your question.
It's Stetna.
Get to the start, get next to him and say, will you give me a lead out? And yeah.
Is he still, he's still
I
rocking
can
stash?
push my way to the front at the start.
Is he still rocking
Can
the
you
big old
give me a
stash?
lead out?
Yes, he still has a mustache.
Okay, so you guys, stash talk, a little gravel talk. Yeah, I think that's your boy. And then Sarah Max would be a good one too. So
Sarah Max is a fun person to talk to, and
both of them.
yeah.
Do it.
All right, I'm jumping on.
What are you going to talk
Maybe it'll
about?
work for you.
How about this? If Lance is able to get up there and connect with him and have a little conversation, what questions would you like to have Lance ask?
Here's the other thing: we will be camping together every night.
Yeah.
We're in camp together, so there's like downtime. That's not like there's going to be an opportunity to have like real conversations with these people.
Yeah, but people won't want to talk to you then.
Not if I have a camera out every time.
Yeah.
But
Well, you don't drink beer and you don't eat barbecue stuff, and like, what kind of a camper are you, really?
I'm not a good one.
No.
I'm not
In
even
his own
sleeping in the
van.
tents. I've got my own.
Yeah.
I bet that most of these people will also be in vans in the van area with me.
Okay.
So
Well, maybe that's your end.
yeah,
Cool.
that's pretty funny.
That it?
Matt, who do you want me to try to connect to?
Stetna would be good. I think for sure that's a smart move to just hang out with him and definitely try to talk a little bit of trash. Let him know. Let him know the
Intimidate him.
Epler's there to contend. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing is he needs to know that you're not going to back down.
I can do that. That's Boswell. Getting to know him a little better would be cool.
Yeah. Do you go up and talk to him and just thank him again for coming on the podcast? Was that about 2 years ago?
It was a couple
Kind of
years
fun to have
ago.
him on. So,
Yeah.
Cool.
I actually really like him. I think that
Good dude.
I think you'll enjoy hanging out with him.
I'm
Sweet.
looking forward to that.
Right on.
What questions do you think I should ask, Jake?
Oh, geez. I don't know.
Comment below on who you want to see me try
that's a good
to
idea.
get some ideas with, and
I'm curious to
potentially,
know
ask
how they
questions.
feel about just like the direction that gravel's heading. It just feels like it's becoming like a blurred line between gravel and road now. I mean, it's kind of
That's a
starting
good
to pick
question.
up a lot of the road vibe, if you will. I don't know. I don't want to see the whole scene lose its fabric of its its DNA, if you will, of like how it came about. Like I don't want to see it get bastardized by road, even though I love road and I love some of the antics. We talked about this last week. I mean, it is kind of fun to see a team go out there and kind of like work it a little bit because there are dynamics that you're going to have to deal with on gravel that you're not going to see in the road. But I don't know. You still don't want to lose the spirit of what the bike racing is.
that's a good point.
So I don't know.
That could be a good question too.
You could ask those guys if you can be on their team and just work as a
Hilarious.
domestic.
Yes, Pete, I'm here for
How
you.
many water bottles would you like me to
Pete,
bring up?
I will be able to lead you out for the first 5 miles of the race, and then that's it. out the back. So if you need any help in the first 5 miles, I'm your man.
Yeah. Can hand you some vegan treats in the process.
After that, toast.
Cool.
All right.
Ready to move on?
Yep,
All right.
Jake.
Here's my question. What's the most unorthodox thing you've done in the name of cycling? Go.
Peed myself while riding.
Peed yourself? No, the most unorthodox thing that you've done in the name of cycling. So, I don't know, like, did you ever, as a kid, go out and get a second job just so you could buy a bike that you're going to go out and race that nobody else? I mean, just that could be unorthodox. It could have been like a
I
training
bought a whole
plan.
freaking van. I spent $100,000 on a van just so that I could do more biking, bike racing, more traveling. That was all centered around biking, mostly.
And another facet you can think about with this question is like, what have you done for yourself? You're like done to yourself individually in the name of cycling so that you become a better cyclist. So there's a couple different ways to kind of look at this. Some people start a YouTube channel. Some maybe is that going to make you a better cyclist or triathlete? I don't know. I mean, get to know people. What do you guys got? Have you done anything crazy, Ian? Anything weird that people are like, oh my gosh, you did that for cycling? I mean, some people might.
I shaved my legs.
I shaved my arms.
Yeah,
Shave your arms.
I did that the early season this year. I shaved my arms, mostly because it was funny, but also because
it's arrow.
Why not?
Yeah.
It's arrow. Let's see what happens.
Matt, you got anything?
Yeah, I got a lot of weird stuff. I definitely have shaved arms, shaved legs. The thing is like I have like one edge above you guys is that like I was kind of aero obsessed, for triathlon side of things. And man, things just get weird when you're like willing to like, obviously pee on your bike. Yeah, that's straightforward. But like, yeah, shave your arms, shave your legs, and like other really weird stuff. Like I used to like tape down stuff with like electrical tape to try to make things like more aero and just not have any weird gaps or any sort of weird cables or anything. Like none of that stuff. It was all about like trying to take or even add like little fairings with water bottles. I know probably people like Evan probably do stuff like this too, but it's like, man, you really get obsessed with just like stupid aerodynamic stuffs. So you're spending all this time trying to get it like absolutely perfect. And yeah, you probably save a couple seconds here and there, but man, it's a weird amount of time to obsess about that kind of thing. So
nice.
What about you, Jake?
What's the strangest thing that I've done?
Yeah.
Well, a couple of you, I think actually Lance is the only person that knows this. This past off season, we know that I didn't really have a season. This past 10 months, I didn't do anything except for eat food and go to the gym. Yeah. And in that process, I gained a lot of weight.
It's easy to do.
I was a big boy.
Mostly in your quads, probably.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, when I'm not riding, and I'm not going to say that I eat bad, but you're not eating perfect. And when you're not riding and you don't have anything to, motivate you to do that stuff. And between the fact that, I'm kind of a mesomorph kind of a build, and it's easy for me to gain muscle, lose muscle. It's also easy for me to gain fat, and it's getting less easy to lose it now. But in the off season, and when I started going to the gym, I really put on quite a bit of weight by going to the gym. And then I gained weight because I wasn't eating. And I remember I stepped on the scale at one point in time back in late March, early April, and about fell over because I looked at myself in the mirror. I'm like, you're fat, dude. And I'm not trying to fat shame people, and I'm just looking at myself, but I can be self-critical. I'm looking at myself and like legit saying like, you are carrying way too much weight. Yes, you're bigger in your, your shoulders and your legs and your hips because you're going to the gym, but you're also carrying extra body fat. And that was a testament to the fact that, again, wasn't eating right. When you get on the bike and you're not doing crazy things, but if you're riding 5-10 hours a week or something like that, you're burning thousands and thousands of calories. So you can eat, and as you get older, your metabolism slows down. And if you're not riding, burning those calories, if you're eating and you're going to the gym and you're gaining all this weight, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got a lot of weight to lose. Usually when I am in my fighting weight, where I'm like super lean and fast, I'm still heavy for a cyclist. Like for me, like my goal is to be between like 180 and 185 pounds. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, that's heavy. Ian, what do you weigh? Like 160?
No, I wish. No, about 175.
Okay, but
like
when you're super fit and you're super lean, chiseled, calf guy, you're probably like
the
165.
lowest I got was 162 last year.
Okay, so, and again, this is a touchy subject. Don't want to think everybody needs to like all of a sudden go out and like purge all this weight and start having these like eating disorders and whatnot. But it's a real thing in cycling. Like watts per kilogram count, especially when you start going uphill. You've got to be able to maintain your watts per kilogram, and you got to keep your power high. You got to keep your weight low, and it's a good thing. You need to have a healthy relationship with that, and that's something that I need to remind myself of. And I did something that was kind of unorthodox. I was looking at all different kinds of things because I was trying, like, honestly, like come the new year, I'm like eating clean. I'm trying to do like intermittent fasting. I'm trying to count my calories, and it just wasn't working for me. Granted, I'm still going to the gym, so I'm carrying the extra weight there. But like I said, I stepped on the scale, and I don't know. I don't like to put this number out there. I weighed 230 pounds. That for me, like it was actually 231, maybe two. I don't know. I got to go back and double check. But for me, that is super heavy. Like I've weighed that much twice in my life. Almost once. I was a gym rat, and this was like back in college, and I was just seeing how big I could get, and that's back when I was bench pressing way too much stupid weight and all that stuff, and that changed, and then that all came off. And then it was shortly after we got married, my wife thought she was Betty Crocker and I was her subject, and I ate all of her confessions that she was making, and I got heavy. And that's really when I got back into riding consistently about 20 years ago, and that it's been good ever since. And I know that like when I've been my strongest, leanest, and fastest, I was at that 178 to 183. I just visually see the scale with those numbers, and I know that that's when I was going super fast. I generally kind of camp out at like 190, 195. When I train hard and I eat right, I can get down there. But again, I got up to really heavy weights. And then I'm looking at all these things that aren't working. I'm starting to do more research, and then I kind of stumbled across something. I'm like, no way, that doesn't work. And you start doing a little bit more research, and it keeps popping up. I ended up jumping on it and trying because I looked at all these different people that were doing it, and there's some doctors out there that I respected, and I actually conferred with my doctor. We did blood work and the whole thing, but I ended up doing the carnivore diet, which was absolutely bonkers.
That's the complete opposite of my diet.
100% opposite.
100% opposite.
And if you don't know what that is, all you eat is meat. And you can have some other little things to help keep your caloric intake up, because you actually find that it's really hard to get the amount of calories that you need during the course of a day. So you're ingesting things like butter and stuff like that, and like little bits of like hard cheeses and whatnot. I've been on that diet now for over 10 weeks, and my goal was to get down to 200 pounds. I hit that. We're there. So I've lost in 10 weeks, I've lost just about 30 pounds. And now I'm going to start transitioning off of that diet, and I'm going to go more into like a paleo-esque kind of a diet, because I've noticed one thing, because I was actually going to try and ride that all the way to the bottom number that I wanted to get at, which was about 185, 190. I'd be happy with that. Over the last, we'll say week and a half, 2 weeks, I've started to increase my volume, and the intensities come up, and I'm finding that is not sustainable to be able to ride those volumes and being in that state of ketosis and being able to, properly fuel yourself to get through these rides.
I was going to ask how that diet works when you ramp up your training.
It doesn't.
Where are the carbohydrates?
Yeah.
I haven't touched a carbohydrate in over 10 weeks. So, but the crazy thing is like the low, like the zone 2s, I'm fine. There's been quite a few rides that I've done where I'm like calorically kind of deprived. I haven't ingested hardly anything at all, and I haven't had any carbohydrates, and I've gone out and ridden for over 2 hours. I was fine. Lance and I just did a ride this past weekend. I was fine.
Right.
But
because you can process
fats, exactly.
At
that level.
At that level. And I knew that I've only talked to like a couple people about this, like Lance and my wife, and there's maybe like 2 or 3 other people that I've talked to about it just because they asked. I knew that this day was going to come, and I knew that there was going to be this crossover point with the training. Like once the volume came up, I'm like, I just don't see this being sustainable. I'm trying to like research, I'm trying to watch videos and read blogs from other people that are endurance athletes that actually are on this diet and have been for years. And I'm like, it's just not working for me. I'm feeling cramps everywhere, and that's another thing that you have to really be mindful of, is making sure that you're keeping your electrolytes in balance and in check. And so I've been drinking certain kinds of drink that don't have any kind of sugar or calories in it, and it's been helping to a certain degree. But
that
I know
could be muscular fatigue too, just from the lack of training.
No, we're not talking about just my legs. When I'm getting home and I'm getting cramps, like weird kind of cramps in my shoulders and
Your
my
eyelids.
obliques, and no joke, like my face, my hands, my feet, and my abdominals. Like, all right, something's a little bit askew
I
here.
think
But
that's what the science says, right? That carbohydrate restriction can work for weight loss.
Yeah.
But after a certain exercise intensity, your body burns carbohydrates.
Sure.
So you need that source of fuel in there.
It depends on like what the intensity level is. But there's the whole crossover effect where you do actually, I mean, you still need to be able to generate, something for energy, and you're going to need to, use carbohydrates to do that, glycogen stores and things of that nature. But anyway, it's been kind of crazy, and it completely is, for me, unorthodox. It's completely contrarian to everything that I've ever known and believed in. And I just kept doing more research. I'm like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. I'm working with my doctor, and I went in and did blood work. I'm going in for my 3rd blood work test next week, actually, just to kind of monitor everything. Everything's looked great. And there's a lot of little things that actually got better. I mean, I feel like it's kind of helped a little bit with like the inflammation. I've lost almost 30 pounds. It's not really helping my sleeping too much, but I think that that's just other stuff going on. But there's a lot of other things that it's really helped me out with quite a bit. And the big thing, and it's kind of vanity driven, was I just wanted to lose the weight just so that I didn't look like a bovine cyclist rolling down the road with my my zipper popping open, and I'm able to comfortably fit in there. And do I still want to lose more weight? Absolutely. But that helped me, and it was unorthodox, and I'm starting to transition, and I'm thankful for the fact that I did that, because I know that if I get into a pickle in the future, and I know that my blood stuff has come back, but if I get into a pickle in the future, I'm like, all right, well, I've got a month or 6 weeks that I want to try and drop a few pounds. I know that I can transition back onto that.
So are you confident that it's the macronutrient distribution that's causing the weight loss, or restricting yourself to that one kind of food? Is that does that
Or is it the calorie
is the
deficit?
side effect?
Well, it's a
less
lot of things.
calories
And so,
overall.
like the
right?
biggest thing going on to this that I noticed is it really like quiets that food noise in your head. And you know, for some people that's different. I mean, us people, maybe there's a lot of people that have this, but you just kind of get in that motion of like you kind of get hungry, then you start to like make bad food choices, and then like all you can start to think about is like, oh, I just want a slice of that, or I want a piece of this, or you know, just another piece. You know, that kind of stuff. It just goes quiet. You don't have that noise in your head.
Interesting.
And I got to the point where it's like I was always like kind of full, and I'm like counting up calories. I'm like, I'm way under where I need to be. I need to make myself eat. And it got to be bonkers. Like I played with a bunch of different things. So for me personally, I didn't do well with pork. I didn't do well with chicken. I did okay with some fishes, but I felt that like the fattier meats, and that's what they say is you got to lean into the fattier meats because like 65% of your diet needs to come from fats. Like a prime rib or a New York steak, those were my jam. And then like having some like 80-20 hamburger meat with a little bit of cheese on it. And then you can't use all the spices. So there's only a select few things. So like Frank's Red Hot Sauce was like, that was my jam. I was accenting that on everything. But, and then you're pretty,
Prime rib with Frank's Red on it.
with a little on the side. And no joke, you cook that up and I put like a couple pats of butter on it. The butter would melt. You throw the Frank's hot sauce on there, and then when you cut through the steak, you get the juices from the steak. It all mixes together. It makes a fantastic little sauce that you're like, you just eat it up. And I can't even tell you for how long. And that's the other thing. Air fryer's magical.
Yeah.
If you've got a thawed steak, you can cook up a beautiful like 10 ounce, you know, whatever in 18 minutes or something like that. If it was fully frozen, it cooked up perfectly, depending upon the thickness, between 32 and 34 minutes, and you've got yourself a perfect steak. Just to go do it. And I was having that for breakfast in the morning.
Completely opposite of what I've been doing.
Dude,
it really is.
My cholesterol levels, fine.
That's the question, you know, with something that heavy in potentially cholesterol, or you know, the danger with a diet like that you hear is atherosclerosis going to go up? Are you going to have blood pressure issues? Are you going to have cholesterol issues? But for short term, really not that big a deal, you know. And what is short term?
A lot of times, though,
6
from
months.
the research that I've done, like that diet can be problematic if coupled with other things like processed foods and sugars, refined sugars, and things of that nature. Those two things together, they don't work well. But if you cut those other things out of your diet, this diet in itself is fine. There's a lot of people that are having great successes with it. There's a lot of people where it's really like it caused a 180-degree turn in terms of like the issues that they were dealing with, like autoimmune diseases and allergies and different sensitivities to different things. It's and I know it's really easy to say, yeah, whatever.
It seems unbelievable.
The literature on nutritional advice is a minefield. There's so much diverse opinions,
and there's a lot of it that's been
supposedly research to support those opinions.
Yeah, go do some digging though. A lot of that's been bastardized by lobbyists and you know things going on in politics that one guy's scratching another guy's back, and next thing you know, we've got the food pyramid, which we know has got a bunch of hooey in it. So it's just trying to support certain industries.
I think there's lots of approaches to calorie restriction leading to weight loss, but when it comes to being an athlete with or a competitive athlete, you do need the carbohydrates to fuel yourself.
Yeah, I think it works for like under 5 hours a week, you know, but more than 5 hours a week.
Under a certain intensity.
Yeah, I could probably do 10 hours, but if it was all zone 2, I'd be fine. But if it was like mixing in a flogging ride and a gravel ride, maybe a spicy team ride on the weekend or a race here and there, I'm going to fall apart. Yeah. It's just not sustainable. I'm finding like if I get into like the gravel rides that we're doing, I get like an hour into it, I'm good. And then over that next like 15 or 20 minutes, things start to kind of fade. And then it's like the bottom falls out. Yes, some of that might have to do with like just my overall fitness and all of that, but there's other things that you get to be, you know, keenly in tune with your body for many, many years. And you kind of know like, all right, this is how it should feel. And this is what I would expect it to feel like, but this is what it actually feels like. And I know that there's a differentiation there between how I would normally eat and how I'm eating now. So for me, it's come to the time where it got me to where I want to go. I am super thankful for it. I'm glad that I stumbled onto this because again, this is just a quiver that I can keep in the arrow satchel thing that I can, I said that all wrong. An arrow that I keep in a quiver. Yeah, sorry. I'm all excited here. It's a tool that I can use in the future. And I know that if I get into a situation where I need to drop off some weight, let's say it's like, you know, just after Christmas or holidays or something like that. And if I need to do something for a month, then hey, that's great. I can trim up some weight. not something that I think is a stand for me, but I'm happy that I did it. And it was completely unorthodox, and I had low expectations, but it worked, but it was super hard. Anyway, Matt, do you need to get going? You good? We're creeping up on your time here.
Let's see. I think it is about that time for me to take a kid to the swim meet. So
do you want to do your one last thing real quick?
You know what? That Dura cycling computer. Oh, I don't know if that
the
was
the Coros Dura.
Coros Dura cycling computer. There's a video about that. Super interesting. I posted a pretty positive. I wouldn't call it a review. I'd call it like a first look, because no reviewer had it long enough to kill the battery. No reviewer really had it for longer than like a week. So all of us were kind of like, got a little bit of time to use this computer. And I'm like, man, these stats that the company's telling us are very, they're like astonishing, right? It's like 120 hours of battery life, like crazy stats for a very good price at $250. So I think a lot of people will be very interested in that particular device. The question is like, can Coros back up all these claims? So my limited testing, it doesn't look like the battery life is going to be what they say it is. And then they're like, well, we're changing the software. And so it feels like it's constantly like in a bit of a beta state. So I will say that the developers at Coros have a lot of work to do, but they have a really interesting device potentially. Like maybe they have an interesting device if they can put it all together. So
it's fun to see another player come to the market, because all that's going to do is kind of push innovation. And it's fun to see a new player come to market and not just do what everybody else is doing, but to try and push the envelope. And what Matt was saying with respect to the battery, what is the stated or the claimed battery life on that?
120 hours.
Claim 120 hours.
Okay, and to put that
hours.
into perspective, like your best bike computers are what, 25, 30?
Yeah. The Garmin Solar-ish is around 25 hours.
And so the other thing about this bike computer too is it's got a pretty big solar panel on it, and they're kind of saying that it's just the computer that you never have to take off your bike.
Yes.
Like you never have to charge it. Like if they can make that come to fruition and they can make that happen, that's kind of industry changing.
There's a conspiracy. Big battery is lying to us. They can make better batteries. We can all get better batteries, and we just don't freaking have them yet. I'm pissed about it.
I think it has a lot to do with the screen technology being slightly different. A lot of people don't like the look of it. They're saying like, oh man, you have this like solar panel and then you have the screen below it. And they're like, man, that thing has a monster forehead. That thing's pretty ugly. Like a 5 head instead of a 4 head. So like, I think that I could get over the looks and stuff like that. It's a paradigm shift to be like, I don't ever have to take this off my bike. You just leave it there. And they've done some other little things. Feel free to check the video out, but like they've done some other little things in here. Like they are constantly updating the .fit files. Like it's syncing to your phone or your watch if you were wearing a Coros watch. So you never have to like finish your ride and let the file compile and save. It's just like,
it's just done. There. Yeah.
My cat eye bike computer from circa 1990 would last for 6 months or something.
Right.
Because it had a coin battery in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coin battery.
I didn't do
GPS.
Yeah, GPS sucks as dry. I watched all your videos, Matt. I watched all those like first looks at that computer too, and it certainly has some interesting concepts but the software still needs quite a bit of help. It's not quite there yet, which is probably why they let you have a first look and not a real review, because they wanted to get it out before Unbound, but it's not really ready for prime time yet.
But then they didn't get it out before Unbound, so they picked an arbitrary date and they just kind of like stuck with it. Whereas they should have just been like, you know what, this isn't ready yet. Like reviewers, feel free to use it for a month instead of 5 days, and then and we'll get the software updated, which they just need to do. So who knows? We'll see. See how it goes. All right. Catch you guys later.
All right, cool.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, that thing looks pretty interesting, actually. But yeah, it's bigger, it's weirder, it's just it's a whole new ball game. But
interesting.
I'm telling you.
My one last thing is I was kind of impressed with the new Swift update that came out last week. I think. There's some new,
I know nothing about it because
in Watopia.
I suspended my subscription.
Yeah. There's some new routes. The main feature of the update was this thing called the grade, which is like anywhere between 10 and 20-minute effort up this sort of it's like a dead straight constant gradient hill with some switchbacks at the top. And Swift will have you doing it. They'll give you an estimated FTP readout based on that. So you go like crazy for 15 minutes.
Oh, interesting.
It is interesting. It kind of, because there's a progress indicator, it tells you the percentage of completion, and there's some markers on the road, and there's some other riders. So it kind of gives you a little bit of motivation to push it. And I must have got on Swift like within an hour of it coming out last week, because I was on the leaderboard
For the whole climb?
for the whole climb. For like, I was like fourth at the time, and 40th overall in Swift. I mean, now I'm probably like 500,000 or something, but
It's been stacked
but it
up.
just came out. And anyway, I think it's whether or not it actually is an accurate representation of your FTP. It really doesn't matter, because it's kind of it's the, what do they call it? The best way, or the easiest way to do the hardest thing, in that everybody hates an FTP test, but that really wasn't too bad. And so do it, and then do it again 3 months from now. And even if it is not consistent with other FTP tests you've done, you're still seeing that.
You have an idea.
You have an idea, you have a baseline. And so it's...
Using
anyway,
the same
it was fun.
consistent measuring device, yep.
Yeah, same consistent measuring device.
It's like
And
your
it really
scale could be off
wasn't-
by 20 pounds, but as long as you're using the same
Yeah.
scale, it doesn't matter, right?
And it's really not that intimidating to do. So that came out, the grade, and then there was a bunch of new routes on Swift Island that go along with that. So that was kind of fun. That's for an indoor workout, middle of the summer.
Like it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
We're doing one last thing.
Go for it.
I'm all focused on the Oregon Trail gravel grinder this year. So this is the 4th year they've done it. 19, 20. It's the 4th or 5th year, I think, that they've done it. And he changed the route this year. We're actually going counterclockwise. Let me think. We're going clockwise instead of counterclockwise for the first year. So this is a point-to-point gravel stage race. You ride 60 or 80 or 100 miles a day, and he got a lot of flack for how difficult the course was last year. So he has said, air quotes, that the course is easier, but there's still a 10,000-foot climbing day.
Oh, geez. Now, is it sanctioned by anybody, or is it just his?
It's not sanctioned by OBRA.
Not by USAC or anybody like that?
It's part of the Gravel Earth series this year. So the Gravel Earth series is a collection of gravel stage races across the entire world.
Wow.
And they picked one race per continent to make it part of the Gravel Earth series.
Is it a UCI thing then?
It might be UCI. I don't think it's even UCI.
Is there an international gravel body yet, or is it still?
There's not. There's not.
Maybe it's time to start that. We'll stamp it right away. And
Right.
say, this is ours.
Because there's like the Traca in Spain. That's part of it. The migration race in Africa that's happening right now. That's part of it. And then we have Oregon Trail. This is the race for North America.
Wow.
I think next year you ought to do the whole series. That'd be
Do
interesting.
all the Gravel Earth series
Oh,
races. Oh, jeez.
Can amateurs register for that? Yeah, cool.
You can. You can do whatever there.
So just to kind of go back there, it's going to probably fall under the rules and things of that nature that they use to govern whatever the races are, which is fine. Do they chip time that, or is it?
Yes, it's chip timed. I'm trying to think of how they did it last year. I did this race last year. I did it like 4 years ago or 3 years ago. There's chips every day. I think the chips are in the
Race number?
Race number.
Gotcha.
The chips in the race number? I don't know. No, this is it's the dude who does all our chip races. He's there every day.
E8 timing?
Yeah,
Okay.
E8 timing.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Blaine?
he's
Yep.
been doing it. Yeah,
Cool.
Blaine.
Yep.
Blair. Yeah.
Blair, sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, so he's expanded. They now have like 2 different operations now,
Good
which
for
is
them.
great.
Yeah.
There's been enough races for them to keep. He's busier than he actually wants to be, but last year he was there at the whole thing, at the whole week. So fantastic.
And they're crushing that. They're entering into more and more races, and the race promoters are taking on that cost, and it's working out well. That's something I told Orbit to do. Oh, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Like, hey, let's do this. Interviewed all the people. Sorry, no, I don't want to go back in that. They should have had their own licensed, like not label. They could license it out to all the promoters, but their own timing system, and it would have been like something that they could have white labeled. And it's something that they could have sold sponsorships for. It's something that they could have used to generate more funds. But good job, EA. Way to step in and take that.
So this race looks really exciting. I'm super excited for it. It's not supposed to be quite as difficult. It's still going to get buried every single day.
And there might be some fun stuff that you see from Lance. Stay tuned.
Yes, there should be some fun stuff that happens from that.
Unrelated to us, but maybe it could be related to us. We'll see.
Yes.
Cool.
No, it'll be related to us.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Before my one last thing. What's going on here? Get this set up here wrong. Anyway, we're going to do a quick Patreon thing like I alluded to earlier. We are going to do a drawing, but first and foremost, like to
dancing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was like taking back. Lance was over there dancing a little bit. Wanted to introduce our newest and latest patron, Mr. Stacy Barbadillo. We really appreciate for coming on board. You're a part of our growing list of patrons, and we really appreciate that because it helps us kind of keep this little dog and pony show going. Lance is going to do a little drawing out of the little jar of people that have been entered in. The people that have won recently have been pulled out. He's holding it high. Ian's pulling out a name, and who's going to be our winner this week that gets to pull something out of the grab bag down at the lab? It is
Terry Hamness.
The
Hamness family.
One and only Terry
One and
Hamness.
only Terry Hamness. We love that dude.
I got to ping that guy. He's probably the best person that I can go ride with right now.
He'd be a great person for you to ride with. He's also coming off a difficult physical year and a half. So.
Cool. But anyway, really appreciate everybody. Lance is going to read through everybody's names here in just a minute. But if you want to add yourself to this list, you can go to dialedcycling.com and you can go into the podcast. And on that page, it will soon go back to being dialedpodcast.com. But for now, because the new website and all that stuff is just kind of propagating out, you can go in there and pick out a... You can pick out a Patreon level that works best for you because you can click through the little Patreon link and get set up. And we really greatly appreciate that. Lance, who are our current Patreons?
Here are our current Patreons. We have Stacy Barbadillo, Dan Beal, Christopher Mann, Edward Dudlick, Aaron Baraff, Sarah Gates, Christopher Reel, John Hatfield, Nathan Skanky, Perry York, Mike Back, the Mike Reddig, Champ Bailey. We still do not know who Champ Bailey actually is on our... It's not me. You guys keep thinking it's me. It is not me. The Hamness family, Dove Eric, Chris Surratt, Chris Hitchcock, and Misty Wick. Thank you guys so much for being our Patreons. You actually helped make this show actually happen.
Yeah, without us having to pay for everything out of our own pockets. Cool. We really do appreciate that. So, yeah. Good times.
Good times.
All right, that's done. Over. My one last thing.
Can I apply for gas reimbursement then? I didn't know we were getting paid.
It doesn't even cover our costs yet.
We need a couple more Patreons to help cover its costs to drive over to this side of the bridge from the Oregon area. So, but back to the one last thing. I really don't have a one last thing other than I'm really super stoked and pumped and ready for Tour de France to be here.
That's going to be exciting.
Pumped on that.
I'm going to miss the first couple of days. I'm going to be on the Oregon Trail. So it starts Saturday and Sunday, and Oregon Trail doesn't end until Sunday evening.
Oh, wow.
So...
All right. Well, stay tuned for us to put out some more information. We're going to do a podcast on this next week, but we will be posting on all of our social media channels the link to the little game that we play. It's the fantasy cycling thing for the Tour de France, and it's kind of a fun. It's just for fun. There's no money involved, but you get to go pick out riders, and you get like a certain budget that you get to work with, and you get to manipulate that as you go through the course of the race, and it's just a lot of fun where we get to talk a little smack on each other and have fun. So stay tuned for that. All right. Anything else, boys?
I'm done.
Yeah,
that's it.
Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here.
Cool.
Let's
All
get
right.
riding.
Yeah, let's go ride bikes.
We do appreciate everybody listening. We will be back next week with another one of these. And until then, bye for now.
Be
Bailey, dropping cycling news on the Dial Podcast. Don and flannel, no pants, and a mic. He's got some fake news. That's right, cycling deets are his game. Name dropping the pros, he gets the dirt, and it might even sometimes be right. Champ Billy here, racing news is my game. If I got it wrong, that's on you. Don't like a champ out. He's Champ Evan Bailey, crossroad mountain and gravel. What the hell's is this guy saying? Unfortunately, this is all the Doubt Podcast could afford. Crew cuts chalk, Bailey, dropping cycling news on the Doubt Podcast. Torn and flannel, no pants, and a mic. He's got some fake news. That's right, cycling deets are his game. Name dropping the pros, he gets the dirt, and it might even sometimes be right. Champ Bailey here, racing news is my game. If I got it wrong, that's on you. Don't like it, champ out. He's Champ F and Bailey, crossroad mountain gravel. What the hell's is this guy saying? Unfortunately, this is all the Doubt Podcast could afford. Bailey, crossroad mountain gravel. What the hell's is this guy saying? Unfortunately, this is all the Doubt Podcast could afford.